Institute VPI by Mark Davis, titled VPI-5, the first molecular sieve for larger than 10 angstroms. Mark?
Well, it's nice to be back in Lexington. I graduated from the University of Kentucky many years ago. Boy, this town has really grown up in the last decade. Downtown is fantastic. I appreciate the opportunity to come back and see it. Fred, you want to? The title of my talk is VPI-5, First Molecular Sieve for Larger than 10 angstroms. And what I'm going to do is just quickly give you a history of this area, a little bit of background on what we call extra large core molecular sieves now. Talk about the structure, some of its properties, and since this is a catalysis club, I have at least a couple of slides on catalysis. And then where we're going. It's basically just what the material is and some of its properties, and then hopefully other people will determine whether we can do anything with it catalytically. I'd like to start off with a quick history of the field. And the first zeolite was discovered in 1756. And what's interesting to me is when I look back is the 12 T-ring system melanite was discovered in 1807. And although the crystal structure wasn't determined, 12 T-atom rings have been around for a long time. Plagicite, everybody's favorite structure, 1842. And then in the late 1800s and early 1900s, there was a lot of ion exchange and absorption studies. And then really a big synthetic breakthrough in 1948, where we start synthesizing zeolites with no natural counterparts. Now this, right in this range, then Linde products came up with zeolite A, X, and Y. And even today, these are probably, if you were to take these, sum total, these would still be the big money makers. So these are very luminous zeolites. And from the finding of these materials, then in 62, Waldo introduced catalytic cracking, first major process for zeolites. Another synthetic breakthrough in 1961 was the synthesis of zeolites in the absence of organic bases. Really, this gets us into the part of doing organic bases, and this comes into this template phenomenon now that everybody likes to talk about. Now that we're all reevaluating, we don't know whether we believe it anymore, but it's at least a nice conceptual idea. From those types of syntheses where we use organic cations now, we have a variety of salacious zeolites that were synthesized. The most famous ZSO5. During this time period, the 70s to 80s, there was a variety of processes that developed from these new materials. And again, in 1982, a synthetic breakthrough. And this was the synthesis of the Alpo molecular sieves. And although I guess it's UOP now from Scott's talk, I'm still going to refer to Edith Langston's group because Union Carbide is just, I'm so used to saying it, but I'm just going to refer to their group and Terrytown as the Carbide group. This was the synthesis of the first molecular sieves in the absence of silicon, and really quite a fantastic breakthrough. And since that time, Edith and her group has thumped about every element of the periodic table in the synthesis gels, and there's about 15 that supposedly end up in the structure. And so when you dope these materials, they go from being neutral to anionic, and so we can do things like exchange and catalysis. Another major event, I think, was 1986. Mobil commercialized this methanol gasoline. And so with this quick history of where the field has been, essentially a few years ago I was trying to sit down and summarize all this literature for myself because it's quite exhaustive and try to see if there were any unifying concepts. At that time there was about 60 structure types and about 300 phases known. Because of the carbide group, this is up around 500 or 600 now. It's like, but the only two unifying trends I can find are the fact that all contain rings less than 12, consisting of 12 or less tetrahedral atoms. So I'm being very generous here. The four sizes are about 8 to 8.5 angstroms or below. They all possess frameworks that are neutral or negatively charged. The neutral ones were pure silica, and the outposts and all the rest were negatively charged. And so being at a university, when you see two boundaries, the first thing is to ask the question, why? And so we began projects to look into these two and see if we could find out whether these could be surpassed. And so the objective of one of the projects was to try to synthesize the first molecular sieve cores consisting of greater than 12 tetrahedral atoms. Now, at the time, we were looking at a lot of theoretical structures because, of course, no material existed with greater than 12 T atoms. The nomenclature was small rings for 8, medium for 10, and 12 was so-called large. And I guess we really weren't very inventive back then, but when we were looking at these theoretical structures like 14, 16, 18, we just started calling these theoretical structures extra large. I wish we would have been more inventive there. So we've used this jargon in the talks and also in the papers we've written. So if you see it, you're just using it to claim anything bigger than 12, just a name for it. Well, unfortunately, we were the first to synthesize one of these materials. We call it BPI-5 for the university, and this was the 5th new material that we made in our lab. It was an aluminum phosphate, and it had an 18-membered ring with about 12 angstrom of free form. And I'll describe these in a minute. The first publication on this came in that journal that's well known for its technical excellence, Wall Street Journal. And although we were flattered by this caused big problems for somebody at university. We had several companies call us and ask us for small samples of this. In fact, one guy asked us for 3 55-gallon drums. What I thought about doing was putting a vial of 1 gram of each of the 3 drums and sending them to them. No, that's probably a little bit. Well, here's the X-ray power diffraction pattern. And I just show this for 2 reasons. One, you see that there's really no amorphous material in here. And as I'll show you in a minute, each of these peaks are to this phase. There are no extraneous phases when you make it pure. And it can be very pure. The structure actually was a theoretical structure predicted by Joe Smith in 1984. He called it Net 811. He's now called this a new net to put in his computer database. It's now 520. What we have here are 6-membered rings separated by double 4s, and you build up an 18-membered ring. The system is hexagonal. You have one-dimensional large cores here. We're looking down to see. And notice here's Net 81, which is carbide's elbow 5. You have 6-membered rings separated by a single core. So if you just introduce another 4-membered ring, you go from a 12-ring to an 18-ring system. In both cases, 1D channels. So any practical molecule is just going to have one-dimensional motion. It's not going to be able to communicate between the channels in either of these structures. Now, I must point out here, there are 2 unique crystallographic sites, and it's pretty easy to see this. If you look in this unit cell here, you have a 6-membered ring, and the sites in that 6-membered ring are going to be different than the ones between the 2 forks. And the number density of those are 2 to 1. Now, fortunately, the structure was solved, or we couldn't sit here to talk about it, and no one believes you would have new material anymore unless you do have the crystal structure. And just to show you that it is correct, here is the experimental pattern for the pure phase, and here's the simulation once the structure was solved. And it's pretty much right on. It's not a refinement, but I do know of 3 refinements that are in progress right now, and all 3 of them are confirming exactly the structure that we proposed. So we're very happy about that. When you look at the material, here is SEM. It's a 50 micron bar. You see that the morphology is needle-like, and if you look down the needles, you'll look down the big pores. You're looking down the Z-axis, and you folks, they grow in aggregates. Sometimes you see them in these fan-like aggregates, and also you can see twisted double fan aggregates here. Now, if you go and try to do the TEM on this material, this is just a simulation. So we have a hexagonal system. If you were to have this, you could see this type of structure hopefully in the TEM. And this took us over a year to do this. These